in our last session we understood about the domain and also about the data element, right? So this was the assignment I had given, and in today's session we will understand about, in today's class we will understand about the database tables. What are database tables, right? Let's see. Anybody from CS background? Any of you from CS? I think today others not join, right? Okay. So database tables or DB tables are used to store the data in the database permanently in row and column format. Okay, so database tables are used to store the data in the database permanently in rows and column format. That means we have three-tier architecture. Who will tell me what is three-tier architecture? Presentation layer,
application layer, database layer.
Yeah, very good. So application layer and database layer, and also the database layer. So this is three-tier architecture, right? So what is the use of presentation layer? Any of you? What is the use of presentation layer?
It's nothing but SAP GUI, right? So where user will
Yeah, please.
get all the transitions.
Yes. Presentation layer is used by user to send any request to the application layer, right? So what application layer will do? Either it executes the request, or if data is required for the request, then it will connect to the database and then bring the data to the application layer and process it and then send back result to the application layer. So that's what, send back result to the presentation layer. So that's what the application layer will do, right guys? So now the table is a concept of database layer. Okay, so where it stores the data in rows and column format. Okay, it stores the data in rows and also in column format. Understood? Let's say if you consider this is a table in the database, this is where your data will be stored permanently. Okay, so if you need this data for any purpose, then you have to access it. You have to select the data or fetch the data from the database to application layer. How do we do that? We will see when we start in the second chapter. I'll tell you how to do it. Okay, you don't have to worry now. We will see that in the second chapter when we discuss on the select statement, on the DQL statement. Okay, so this is a table. So what happens here, what if the data that you store here, okay, it will be stored like this in a rows and also in a column format. This is a row, one row, this is the row format, and also in the column format. This is how the data will be stored in the database in a rows and column format. Understood? This is row, sorry, this is row, and this is column in rows and column format. Anybody, any doubts? What is database table and what is the use of it? Are we clear what database tables will do?
Yes, Rajnish.
Everyone, this is row and then this is column format. Okay, this is how the data will be stored in the database. Are we clear, everyone? Very, very important. Is this clear to everyone, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay then. So next is the types of tables. We will create a table. Okay, before that let's, yeah, please, somebody has doubt. No? Okay, so there are different types of tables, like transparent table, cluster table, pool table, and global temporary table. Okay, global temporary table. So these are the types of tables we have. Okay, so basically these two are obsolete. We no more create these tables. We should not create. Even whatever the tables were there, like cluster or pool table, okay, that is been converted to transparent table because of the HANA database that is introduced recently from SAP. Okay, recently means it's almost, I guess in the 2011 they introduced, but still there are so many implementation, or the customers understood now, and there are so many projects also going on implementation of S4. Okay, so anyways, these two are obsolete. You don't have to worry too much, but still I'll explain it to you in case if any interviewer asks you, then you should not feel that you don't know, right? So let's understand transparent table. So this this table will have one-to-one relationship with runtime object in application layer and database object in database. Okay, runtime object in application layer and also the database object in the database. Okay, one-to-one relation. So now what is this one-to-one relationship? Okay, these two will have many-to-one relationship. Okay, these tables will have many to one relationship. Okay, even the pool table also, but the data that we store is different in pool table, in cluster table. Okay, even this will also have many to one relationship. What is this one to one relationship and then many to one relationship? Let's understand. So guys, I have just given introduction to the DDIC in our previous session, right? So which concept, where the DDIC belongs to? It belongs to which layer? DDIC belongs to which layer?
It's application layer, right?
Yes, it's application layer, right? See, it's application layer concept, right? Whatever you do, you are going to do it in application layer via presentation layer, right? So DDIC is something that is related to application layer. Okay, maybe I'll just expand this so that I can it's a concept of application layer, right guys? So whatever you create, there are two things now. Okay, let's say this is the DDIC. the data dictionary, DDIC, that's a full form of DDIC, right? Data dictionary. Priyanka, you may not understand everything today, but just try to understand the concept, because you may have to go through 4 to 5 sessions to understand whatever we are doing today. Today is your first session, so you may face little difficulties in understanding. Okay,
Okay, sir.
maybe since you are from CS background, you are already aware what is database table.
Yeah, no, sir.
Maybe they have not taught you in depth, but you will learn it today. Okay, so now let's understand. So this is the concept of application layer, data dictionary, correct? And whenever you create any database table, I'll show you how to create a table in SAP. You don't have to worry. So whenever we create table here, not in the database. Okay, so the moment you create the database table, what happens, there will be a runtime object created in application layer. There two things happens. Okay, so it creates a runtime object. What is runtime object? So I will tell you that also in a minute. Okay, so this is the runtime object that will get generated or created in application layer. Okay, so for exactly this one runtime object or one table that is created in application layer, exactly one table will be there. One table. That is what one-to-one relationship. One table will have one database table in application layer. This is what we call one-to-one relationship. Understood? One table in DDIC, one table in the database. Clear, guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this
Yes.
is what we call one-to-one relationship. One table in DDIC, one table in database. So now many-to-one relationship. What is this many-to-one relationship? So that's nothing but you may create multiple tables in application layer in the DDIC. Okay, even this also generates runtime object anyway, so I'm not going to take it again. I'll just consider this a runtime object or whatever the database definition that you're providing. Let me just also minimize it so that I can keep. Okay, so this is another database table, okay, that you're going to create in the application layer. Here you're going to create, you may create, let's say, one and also two, maybe one more table, or maybe multiple tables too. I'm just taking this many, three. Okay, let's consider you're creating three tables in application layer, okay, in the data dictionary. Okay, you're creating three tables in the data dictionary, but all these tables will be stored in one table in the database. This is what we call many to one relation, many to one relationship. Understood the difference between one to one and many to one relationship?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So this is what many to one relationship. This is also runtime object. Okay, I have not written it because I don't get that much space here. Okay, so now what is this runtime object? Okay, maybe I will show you in the system. Okay, so let's try to create the table now and we will see. You know what is domain and data elements. Let me quickly revise it for you. So domain provides the technical properties to the data element, and data elements provides the semantic and also the technical attributes for the structure field, for the table field, or the row type of an table type. Okay, in that case we are going to use the data element in the table field that we created in our last session. Okay, so let's go and create a table. I don't know that I'm getting some issue with my server today. I have other server for the backup. I don't know why it is giving this issue. I'm not sure. I'm not able to log in. I have mailed the server people, but yesterday no reply till now. Okay, so I'll just use the other server. Anyways, I have created the domain and data element that we created in the last session. So let's go to SE11. This is a transaction code where we create. Okay, so here if you see, this is the data element that we had created in our last session, and then this is how you create the database table. Now you have to select the database table. Okay, so maybe Priyanka, so far what we have done is, this is what we have completed the first chapter, and also in the second chapter we have completed what is domain and what is data element, and in the third chapter till here it is done. Only few topics is over so far. There are so many things to go. You can see there are so many chapters. We are still in the initial stage. Okay, and yeah, so let's come back, and now here in the database table I will provide the database table name. You know that any object that we create in SAP, it should start either with Z or Y. So let's say Z, maybe S4HDR B20. I'll just create the table like this: sales order, header, batch 20, right? So I just select this and say create. After that I can provide the short description here, like sales order header table. Okay, so after that here there is a field called delivery class. You have to provide the delivery class. It's a mandatory. You know, wherever you see star like this, you must have to enter that data, otherwise system will throw you an error. You cannot proceed further without filling that field. Okay, so what is this delivery class? Okay, so maybe I'll just also do one more thing. Let me write it. Okay, before that let me write what is temporary table. Okay, I will tell you when we discuss on update function models. Maybe used to store the temporary data. Okay, basically it's used for LUW, logical unit of work. We will understand that, don't worry now. Okay, there's so many things to cover before that, and let me just move it little bit. Okay, so now what is this delivery class? Yes, Priyanka, you have any doubt?
No, sir.
Your understanding?
Yeah.
Okay, not bad. So anyways, what is delivery class now? So delivery class used for data transport, or sorry, used for controlling the data transport. Okay, transport or data transporting for installation. When installing or installing the SAP system, at least some data needs to be transferred, right, from the exe file to the system, to the installed software. When you're upgrading the version of server from or when you are doing upgrade, the data transport should happen from lower version to the higher version. Or when you're doing the client copies, okay, if you're going to copy the data from 100 client to 200 client, right? In that case, this also helps in the data transport, where the data should go, right? And also transport also helps in transport the data between customer system. Okay, customer system. This is what happens. This is what the use of data class. Understood? It mainly helps in transporting the data while installing the system, while upgrading the system, or while doing the client copies, and also helps in transport the data between the customer systems. Are we clear what is delivery class? Understood?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go back and provide here. There are so many delivery classes you can see. So what type of data this table is going to store? When you're doing installation, you want to transport the master data or transaction data. What is master data? Who will tell me? What is master data? Any of you? Do you remember? Hello? Not revising the PPT then. Nobody? Data will be used frequently but changed rarely, right? Transaction data is nothing but it changes rarely. Correct that, right? That means you will update the table with a new rows every time, or you'll be changing the existing data, right? So that's what transaction data. And the master data will not change regularly or very frequently, but it will be changed rarely, right? If you remember, I had also given example of Flipkart. Your address may not, or your phone number or your email ID not change for every order that you make, but your orders will change. Correct? So I hope, please go back and revise it, guys. If you are not doing it, it's very important, right? So what type of data you should transport it, right? What type of data it is? Either it is a customizing data. Customizing tables are nothing but we also customize SAP servers. Okay, basically the functional consultant will do that. Okay, whether the table is going to store the customizing data or the table going to store the temporary data, right? So again, customizing tables but protected against SAP upgrade. That means whatever the table data that is stored, it will not be overwritten when SAP releases the patches or the upgrades, right? So control tables, okay, SAP and customers will have the separate key areas. That means these tables, whatever the data that will be stored by the customer, they will have separate keys, and then customer will have the separate keys, right? So system tables only maintained by SAP. You cannot do any changes or modification to it. SAP can do it. And then system tables contents for transportable object. That means whatever you create, the TR, the transport request that you create, so those informations will be stored in this type of tables. But basically 99% of the times we create table A. In 1% chance that you may create customizing table. In my entire career so far, I have never created any of this. Okay, this is what we do. A, either in 1% of the cases you may create C. That means either you create table to store master data or transaction data, or you create a table to store customized data in very rare case. Okay, let's go with table A. That means this table is going to store the master data or the transaction data. And then the next option is here is the data browser or table view maintenance. What is this data browser or table view maintenance? Okay, so let's understand. Let me break it for you. So there are two things here. One is data browser, other one is table view maintenance. The transaction codes for data browser is SE16. Transaction codes are nothing but its application, Priyanka, if you have not attended the class, at least there are transaction codes. The transaction codes are nothing but an application, actually, that I have explained it to them already, but you can go through the recordings, you'll understand. If you don't understand, you can always ping me or call me, I'll just tell you. Okay, this is where we understood what is transaction code. So it's an application. Okay, there is a program exists behind the transaction code. So ABAP program. So like that, there are other transaction codes like SE16 N and also SE16H, and there are other transaction codes too, okay, etc. So table view maintenance transaction codes or it is also called as table view editing. In the latest server you may see like this, editing. Okay, so the transaction code for this is SM30, where you use the transaction code to edit the entries of the database table. Okay, so by using this transaction codes, whether you should be or you can be able to delete, sorry, you can only display the data, okay, but you cannot maintain the data. You cannot display the data or maintain the data if you select the second option. If you select the last one, in that case you cannot display or maintain the data of the database table. It is not possible. Okay, so display or maintenance allowed with restriction means you can display but you cannot maintain the data. You can display and maintain the data in the second case using the transaction code that I mentioned in the PPT, and then the last option, if you select, you cannot even display or maintain the data. Okay, let's go with the second one. Later we will see with other options. I think the connection is lost. Let me re-log into the server again, because if you don't use server for a long time, then this connection will be lost, right? So let's go back again, SE11, and here we have to enter the table name, and I think it's okay. Let me create it again. Sales order header, and we selected A here, and then this is what we were discussing. I'll select with display or maintenance allowed. So this is all nothing but this tabs is nothing but how do we transport the data, and also whether we should be able to maintain or delete or display the data, right? That's what this option is all about. Maintenance is nothing but inserting new record, deleting existing entry, or changing the row which is, or the data which is already there in the table. Okay, then next we have the fields tab. This is where we enter the database fields name. I'll just go with the local object as of now. Okay, that means store in temporary package $tmp, that is non-transportable. So you know what is $tmp package. So now here we can provide the fields. Okay, either I can provide the data element which is already exist in the system. Okay, let's say this is a key field. What is key field? I'll come to it. And then let's say there is an sales order number, one more field. So if you remembered, right, we created the domain and also the data element in our last session. So this is the domain that we created, sorry, this is the data element, and inside there is also a domain. So I go and use that data element here. See, this is what the use of data element that we created in our last session. Understood? Understood, guys? Hello? Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is what we created in the last session, data element, if you remember. See, do you remember? That means in the Saturday's class, right? This is what we created in the Saturday's class. Right, guys? And also the domain. Not practicing, right? Please complete the assignments. It's a request. Otherwise you will start facing difficulties, right? You should complete the assignment. Otherwise you may not understand if I say domain and data element. You should go and complete your assignments if you are not doing it. Very important. So this is what we created, and then this is where we use it in the table. Also in the structure fields you'll go get to know going forward. Okay, so and also guys, it's not like we have to create this data element and domain every time. It is not recommended. So the concept of data dictionary is all about the reusability, right? It's all about reusing the objects that we have created. somewhere I had written that reuse. Where is this? Here. DDIC also helps to create the objects which are reusable, right? We don't have to create all of them every time. If there is a data element exist already in the system, it is good practice to go and use it instead of creating our own, or instead of reinventing the wheel, right? It's good to use which is already there. Okay, so what I will do, there are some data. I'm actually creating the copy of sales order header table which is already there, just to show you how these tables are created by SAP. This is the sale order header table which is created already by SAP. There are so many columns here, you see. So these are the fields we have. Sales document number, that's what I created with some different name. You can go and reuse the data element which is already there. So I'm going to use some more fields. I'm going to add some more fields to the table, like order type, maybe some more columns from here. I'll just add it. Okay, and also the data element which is already created by SAP. You see, these data elements are created by SAP. We have not created it, but SAP created it already. We will reuse it. This is what we also do in any of our projects. Okay, we only create the data elements if something is not matching for our requirement. Otherwise we should not create. Okay, we should use the existing ones. Okay, that's what you should do. You should learn to use the existing ones rather creating the new data elements. Okay, so I go back and let's say the order type AUART, or otherwise you can say ORD underscore TYP. In a short form you can put any name, and the data element I remember is AUART. This is the data element which is created by SAP. What is data element? What is data element?
So data element nothing but, so based on this you can it will pick the technical properties and semantic changes in case if you maintain anything.
You should not answer like this. You should answer exactly the way I provided it to you, right? Revise the PPT. So data element provides the semantic plus technical attributes. You should not just stop your answer by here. You should also explain your interviewer what is semantic attributes. That means F1 help, F4, and also the F1 field label, F1 and F4, right? And what is also the technical attributes? Data type, length. Remember, technical properties. Should answer completely, not half of it. So that's when the interviewer will be impressed with your answers. Otherwise you're just like other guy. They will not prefer you. They will think. You should not give that chance to think whether they should take you or not. Whenever you attend interview, you should be confident that you are the one who is going to clear the interview. That's up. Okay, always try to answer completely and also give proper explanation. So revise the PPT. So next is order type, and maybe we can also have some more columns like VKORG. That means basically it is a sales org. The data element is VKORG. Okay, so maybe we will also have NETPR, net price or net value, and here the NETPR is the data element for this, and also the currency WAERK or CURR, currency. If you want to provide full name you can also do it, and WAERK. Okay, so let's have some columns. Okay, I'm just using the data elements which already created, but you know how to create the data element and domain. We have seen that in our last session. So this is already created by SAP. So any of you, any doubts till now? Till here, anybody, any doubts? And also guys, one more thing that I wanted to say, whenever you name any of the columns, you give a proper name. If you remember, I'd given assignment, right? So purchase order number, let's say for example, what you can name it, PO, purchase order, right? PO means purchase order, PO maybe you can also add one more underscore or number. Let's say order type, purchase order type. So you can just ignore the purchase because it is a purchase order table only. So maybe you can say ord underscore typ, short name. Always try to give the field names as short as possible. And document category, let's say doc underscore category, something like this. This is how you should name the fields of the database tables, or even the data elements. Okay, it is good practice that if you name the field name as exactly like what you use in the domain, that is always best. If you see SAP, what SAP has done, you see AURT, the field name, even the data element is also same, right? So sometimes there is a change, that's okay, but most of the times if you see, exactly they have used the data element name. Okay, even whenever you create the data element, you create like this only. Understood? So purchase organization, let's say org or po underscore org, like this. You should always name or name the fields which is very meaningful to it, right? So you should be able to read. These are like this because actually this is SAP is a German software. They have meaning for this, but since we are using in English version, so you can name it like this. This should be okay. Understood? Proper naming conventions is also important. Clear? Hello?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, only Priyanka is saying yes, it's first class for her. I don't know what she is really understanding. You're really understanding, Priyanka, or simply saying yes?
Yes, sir. But previous topic, I'm not understanding anything.
At least some of
But
it you are
today,
getting, right?
what are you? Sorry?
Some of the things which I'm saying you're understanding.
Yeah, not some of the things. Like previous classes, only I'm not understanding. Today's water and all you're mentioning, I can understand everything.
Okay, that's great, and thank you for that. Okay, and then guys, one more thing. If you have the currency or the quantity field, right? Let's say for example, if you consider some number, let's say maybe I'll just write 100. What is this 100? Is it 100 kg? Is it 100 gram? Or it's 100 INR? Or is it USD? Or it is euros? What is this 100 number? Right? If you're storing some number, that means the currency or the quantity field. What is the unit of that number? Correct? Right? What is the unit of this number? For this to you also have to provide the reference field and also the table name where the unit reference is stored for this number, right? So that means you have the net value means net price. Okay, maybe I'll just change the data element to net value. Okay, so let's have the net value. So this net value is a number, right? That means it stores the amount, right? If you are storing 100, what is that 100? You should give some meaningful reference to it, right? So this is where your currencies are stored, like INR, USD, euros, right? This is where it is being stored. You have to also provide the reference table and reference field, otherwise you will not be able to activate it. Where do you do that? You have to provide that under currency or the quantity fields. So in my case, the reference table is same table, and this is the reference field where it stores the unit of measure. Are we clear? Understood why we should provide? Without this you cannot be able to activate the table. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. So now this one I'll come to it later when we discuss foreign key relationship. I'll explain it to you. And this is after this, guys, you cannot activate the tables. Okay. To create tables, there are some more mandatory things. Before going, let's understand what is this key field first, and also what is this initial value. What is the key field, right? Let's say, anybody? Priyanka, you're from CS background, right? What is key field of a table if you have created any tables? No idea? Basically, to create any table, it's a mandatory field. Without key field, the table cannot
The
exist.
primary key, right?
Yeah,
So,
primary key field. Yes, primary key.
this primary key helps us to comprise the key fields in unique identification for the table row.
Very good. So it's a mandatory field of the table. That means without key field, there can be no table exist, right? It is mainly used to identify the rows, the row of an table uniquely. Okay, uniquely, spelling mistake, unique. Yeah, maybe it's correct now. It is used to identify the row uniquely. Okay, that means if you have this row, let's consider these two rows. Maybe you will have one key field. Let's consider one key field. This is a key field. This is only one value. It cannot be multiple values. Let's say if it is one here, then there can be no row exist as one here. Okay, it can only have once if it is only one key field. If it is if the table has multiple key fields, in that case combination of these two tables will become key field. Okay, that means combination of these two columns will be identified uniquely. Okay, so that is what the use of key fields. It is mainly used to identify any row of an table uniquely, right? So this is one thing that happens based on the key field. And one more thing is that based on the key field of the table, okay, DDIC will also create primary index. Okay, based on the key field of the table, DDIC will also create the primary index. What is primary index? We'll discuss that later. Okay, that comes somewhere here when we discuss more on the technical setting. Sorry, not here, when we discuss on the indexes, why we'll cover that. Okay, so maybe another after 2 class we will see. Okay, and this is what the key field. It is mainly used to identify any rows uniquely. Okay, understood? If it is not clear, I'll explain it to you properly. If it is clear, then we will move on. Key field, are we clear what is key field? Okay, let me show you an example also in the system. So if you see the sales order table, okay, just ignore the client field. Okay, so only consider VBLN, because client field is used to segregate the data within the system, correct? So that's what we discussed in our previous classes. So let me execute. If you see the data of an table, there can be no row exist with a 35. Let me sort it. Maybe I'll just take 1 to 100 or 1 to 50. Okay, only one row. Okay, so now if you see here, there can be no row exist with 4969 again, 4970. See, only one row, one value. It is, all numbers are unique. You know the meaning of unique, right? That means no duplicate, without any duplicate, right? If you have working, you will have employee ID in a company that will be unique only for you, right? If you are a student, then you will have student ID in your college, your roll numbers for an exam, right? Register number for writing exam, that register number brings all your details, right guys? It's unique, right? You, no other person can have your number, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's what unique number. Okay, so key fields are used to identify any rows uniquely. Okay, next is other one is field name that we provided. So again, as the field name of the table, the data will be stored. Okay, each, I think there are around 6 fields that we provided. This is actually columns. Field names defines the column of the table. Okay, it provides the column of the table. Okay, how the column should be created, how many column your table should have, right? All this is a column actually, the field name. This field name can have up to 30 characters. You can provide 30 characters here. That means the name of the field can be up to 30 characters. And also the field can have alphabets. The field can also have the underscores like this. If you want to include some numbers, let's say for example like this, if you want to have a number to the field name, you can also have. Okay, let me also write down it for you. Field name can be up to 30 characters. Okay, field can have alphabets. It can, field name can have alphabets and numbers and also underscores, and field must begin with letters. Okay, it must begin with the letters, but after the letters you can have anything, any other characters. You cannot have percentage and all, but some characters it supports. Okay, how I know all about this? Just press F1 from here. See, right, this is where I know. I have a question for you now, from where this documentation is coming.
It's from data element.
Very good, it's coming from data element, right? So you see there is a data element. In this data element, SAP maintained a document like we also maintained in our last session. It's coming from the documentation. Okay, I just go back and
Is it allowing, sir, all special characters?
not all special characters. Let's say for example I'll just put ampersand here and check for an error. You see, it's a non-alphanumeric field. You cannot. Understood?
Okay, okay, sir.
You cannot have. Data type is character only, but they have restricted it. You should not be able to enter. Okay, there may be some checkings that they are doing in the back end. Okay, you cannot have all the special characters. You can have underscores. Clear? And next thing, guys,
Yes, sir.
to activate the table, till the table is not activated, to activate technical setting is mandatory. Right now I'll just provide it as APPL 0 and then also 0. What it is, we will have separate session to understand. I'll save it as of now. Without this you cannot activate it. Okay, we'll cover it in a separate session. In the next class I'll explain it to you. So now I activate the table. So what activation will do? The moment you activate, it creates a runtime object. The DDIC will create, this is the definition. Okay, so the DDIC will create a runtime object in the application layer and also an database object in the database. Okay, your runtime object cannot store any data. I'll tell you what is runtime object now. Your database object can store the data. Okay, So let's go back and activate. Click on the activate button and then execute. Do you want to display activation logs? I'm not interested. Say no. You see it's activated. It's active. The moment you activate, two things happens. You see there's a runtime object created in application layer. If you see in application layer, the data types are like this: char, char, clnt. This is ABAP data types. ABAP data types means application layer data types. Correct? So if you have also seen the advantage of 3-tier architecture, what is the advantage of 3-tier architecture? You can switch the database anytime, right? Without depending on the application layer or what program that you have written. You can easily switch your databases. Correct, guys? That's the advantage of 3-tier architecture, right? Do you remember? Do you remember it was our initial class? I think the second class, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the advantage of 3-tier architecture. So now, here these are the ABAP data types. Do you also remember I told we will have something called database driver? Somewhere I mentioned it. If not, okay. So in between this, there will be an database interface. We call it as driver, or you can also call it as database interface. So what this interface will do? It will map the ABAP data types or whatever we do in ABAP layer to the database layer, because today we may connect to MySQL. In future, SAP or company thought that MySQL is too costly. They want to switch it to other DB, maybe SYBASE, right? So because they are switching the database, there should be no effect on the programs that you have developed, right? There should be a mapping, right, guys? Right, all of you?
Yes, sir.
This database interface will do that mapping, and also in case of program, whenever you write OpenSQL statements in the application layer here, it also converts them to the native SQL. Native means very simple. So everybody speaks English here, right? Right? It's a medium that we can communicate and understand each other. Right, all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
How many of you can speak Kannada?
I can speak.
Okay. How many of you can speak Hindi?
Yes, I can.
You can speak Kannada, Tapas, right?
No, sir. Can Hindi. I can Hindi, sir.
Okay.
I
So
can
how
speak
many
Hindi.
of you can speak Telugu?
Yeah, I can speak.
So this is what our native language, right?
Yeah.
But if we speak in native language, other people don't understand it, right? Actually, it will be covered in my ABAP Anana course. Just let me open the course contents or other PPT of ABAP Anana so that I just explain it to you now. It will be covered in my ABAP Anana. Let me tell you what is OpenSQL and native SQL. Oh, here also you will see the beautiful pictures again. Anyways, I love drawing. Okay, here. So, like I told, most of you cannot understand Kannada, and some of you cannot understand Telugu, and some of you cannot understand English. But we all communicate with each other in English because everybody can understand it, right? So that is like OpenSQL. Okay, we write one language like this, okay, but behind the scene SAP, your database interface, the DBI will convert it to the native SQL statement. If you see HANA-DB columns are separated by comma, or MySQL columns are not separated by comma, but the table name is provided with enclosed with the parenthesis, that means the brackets, right? Oracle is ending with the colon, but it is ending with semicolon. Each database have its own language, like each of us have our own mother tongue, our own native language, right guys? So
Yes,
but
sir.
we all speak in English because others may not understand. So what we write is OpenSQL, that is like our English, but our mother tongue. Whenever we also, guys, some of us, what we do, when I speak in English, you translate it to your mother tongue. Your brain will do, right? Inbuilt technology that you have, the built-in translation in your brain. You may not notice it, but you have it. I'm speaking in English, but you are converting it to your mother tongue, right? Did you notice any time? I notice most of the times whenever anybody speaks in other language, but my brain will do the translation for Kannada because my mother tongue is Kannada. Did you notice it, right? So we have inbuilt translation in our brain, the same way in computer there is an DBI which translate according to the database that we are connected to. We write this, but our database will translate, sorry, our DBI will translate it to the native SQL statements, which only database can understand, right? If you write this, only HANA-DB can understand. If you write this one, then only the MySQL can understand. If you write this, then only the Oracle can understand. If you write any of the statement here, then if you're connecting to MySQL database, then it cannot understand. But what we do is we write OpenSQL here, and then our DBA will take care of the translation to the native SQL statements. Very simple. Native SQL means only particular database can understand. OpenSQL means you can write OpenSQL, no database can understand it, but there will be a translator in the middle which converts to the database language. Understood? The difference between OpenSQL and native SQL? That is done by the DBI. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So now
Yes,
you
sir.
see these are the ABAP data types. Okay? But data types, sorry, your database cannot understand these types. It cannot understand, but what it can understand, okay, again the connection lost. Let me log in quickly again. Oh, entered the password wrong. Oh. Yeah, so now if you go and see the database object, this is where you can see the runtime object, that is ABAP layer. There should be a mapping, right? So this will help to map the ABAP objects to the database object. If you see the database object, you can see here. Your application layer, the ABAP data types cannot understand this data type. You see, it's n varchar. Whatever we provided in ABAP SELNT, the client data type, but database cannot understand that. It can only understand this n varchar. Data type cannot database cannot understand char. It can only understand n varchar. This is the data types I provided in the application layer as a decimal, DEC. That is the data type of an ABAP layer, but database cannot understand DEC. The data type for that is decimal, right? There is a change. This mapping will be done by the DBI. The runtime object will be mapped, which is stored in a ABAP layer, to the database object via DBI. Understood what is runtime object and also the database object? Because there are chances of connecting to the different databases or changing the database tables, or sorry, databases whenever we want. There should be something which exists in application layer. Whenever This helps to map between the DB and also the application layer objects, okay, via DB interface by taking help of database interface. Correct? This is an object that exists in application layer in an active mode. Whenever you change it, the database, this helps to create another table in a different database tables. Anybody, any doubts so far till now? Till now, anybody, any doubts? Are we clear? Hello, all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll give you an assignment now. Create purchase order table with above data elements you created. You have created data elements already in a previous assignments. Use those data elements to create a purchase order table, purchase order header table. Okay, so this is an assignment that you have to complete. Okay, I know it is too much for you guys. One more thing that I want to make it clear for you: the classes are totally in depth, right? You may face difficulties maybe today, but I have the confidence you will go through the recordings and then over and over again, and you make notes and you try to remember, because some of you are not only here to clear fresher interviews, some of you here to clear as an experience also. You want to show your domain experience and then you want to change, right? So it is not just fresher case, it's not only the class for the freshers. And even if you're fresher and then if you're able to answer all of the things that I'm saying, trust me, no interviewer will reject you. Even your interview will not have the knowledge that I'm sharing with you. So you have to watch the recordings over and over again. You cannot remember all of it at once, but trust me, if you're going through recordings and then making notes and then revising the PPT, definitely you will remember it. Okay, so let's give you some also the interview questions on the topic what will be asked for today's session. Trust me, most of the questions, at least 80% of the questions will come from the PPT, in the questions which are mentioned in the PPT. 80% at least, minimum. Okay, even 100% chances is also there where all the questions from the PPT. So many of my students told me that if you revise your PPT, that is more enough. But to revise that anyways, you also have to go through the classes and also the recording. So let's say interview questions. What are the types of tables we have and their differences, and what is difference between data class and delivery class. Okay, delivery data class I have not covered in the tomorrow's means maybe we may not have it tomorrow, but we will have it on Thursday in the next, on Friday. I'll try my best to take tomorrow. If not possible, we will have the class on Friday, and then we will discuss what is data class. That is somewhere here in the technical setting, right? It is also mandatory. Right now I have just provided it, but we will see, we'll understand it. Okay, so that's all guys then for today. If you don't have doubts, we'll end our session. If you have doubts, we can discuss.